Welcome back to day 6 of our Global Wellness Summit. We're so excited for you to be here. A recap in case this is the first time you're joining us. We kicked off on October 10th with World Mental Health Day. What an incredible day that was. We had the Dalai Lama opening the session for us. We had Deepak Chopra, Jane Goodall, Dr. Ken McDonald, Dr. Daniela Remy, Dr. Avi. We had Anne Larson. We had the founders of Unify, Adil and Patrick and myself, all just sharing about why we're here doing what we do. And that's to help you, to help the world be a better place. And this conversation is all around mental health. We have 10 days of mental health. We have awareness, we have tools, we have experts, we have experiences, we have workshops. We have so much just for you to support you on your journey. And we're very grateful to be here with you. So thank you so much for being here and for allowing us to be part of your journey. And today is all about genius and purpose. So this is day 6. And I'm just going to do a recap today of what we covered this morning in case you missed the session this morning. It's a really important topic. It's about why we're on the planet. So we're talking big things here today. And our genius and purpose really, it starts with our identity, understanding who we are. And to help understand who we are, we need to understand about the things like our biology. Here we are as our body, with our mind. We're here as spirit in our body, and our body has a capacity to do something, to live our purpose. We're starting to understand what that is and starting to really get an idea on this journey that we actually have some incredible genius and tools inside of us that we can actually use to an incredible way to live our potential. So our response to our environment is the first part of our identity, who we are. And this means that the things we put in our mouth changes who we are. The ways we move our body changes who we are. The ways we interact with people changes who we are. The things we do with our time, the outdoors and indoors environments, the places, the external environments impact us and who we are on the inside. The amount of sleep we get or don't get, and the way our mind works, these are all factors. We call them epigenetic factors, things outside of our genes that influence our genes. These are all the things that create and make who we are in terms of our biology, in terms of our psychology. These create the things, how we behave, how we act, how we think. And it's a really powerful way for maybe the first time in a long time, in many decades, that people are really starting to understand that our body really dictates the predisposition for how our mind works. And that's really powerful. We haven't really crossed this bridge until this point really in the journey. So it's exciting, and we can now understand so much about how we think, act and behave just by understanding our body better. And the Shay App is designed to help you do that. And we're hoping that you're enjoying the journey in there in this free 10-day challenge. If you haven't yet registered, if you're listening to this for the first time, go to unify.org/global wellness challenge. We are all here as a beautiful community together to lift the consciousness, to improve the collective conversation, and to reduce the stigma around mental health and really promote the things that are possible for us to be stepping into our passions, our purpose and our power. So our natural strengths here, this is our genius. These are the things that really help make us who we are. And so we've got our identity, which is on this side here, which is a bit more than that too. It's also our belief systems. It's also about a lot of the different layers of our mental, emotional, physical and spiritual selves. Our genius here, which is how we're actually designed to live through this body, which is our natural capacity, our natural flow states, and what things light you up. So this is more of our passion, what really fuels you, our personality, what fuels us to do what we're here to do, to be who we're here to be. So what really lights you up in that space. So a combination of our identity, our genius and our purpose is really the thing that we're talking about today. So big conversations, and thanks for dialing in here. So who are we when we look at this identity layer just a little bit deeper, or recap on this from this morning? So we just covered, these are the things. This is how, like, we are a combination of how we respond to the environment. So how all these factors influence us equals who we actually are. So we are how that we respond to the environment. We're also driven by our biology. So this is understanding about the ways that we make up, like how we tick. Are we an early bird? Are we a night owl? Do we have different brain regions that are firing off compared to other people? And of course, the answer is yes. Our behavioral genetics, so we all have 25,000 genes or so in each cell. How they switched on or off at any point in time, that changes regularly, which we know now. There's so many complex dynamics here that dictate what actually is our biology and what makes us tick. So this is the behavior understanding, or behavioral genetics understanding, for the basis of our mind and the way that our psychology is actually made up. And that comes over here to understand that layer too in our psychology, how our beliefs influence our reality. Again, it's not a new conversation. We don't share this for mind-blowing things like we used to 10 years ago, and everybody used to like, oh my gosh, this is revolutionary. Now it's kind of accepted in the conscious communities, which is amazing, that everybody really understands that what you believe really does dictate what your life is like. And so this is a really powerful thing to understand that. And we are the result of our actions. So what we actually do, so our beliefs are, believe it or not, just one small part. It sort of dictates how we act each day, but it's one small part of who we actually are, because our mind is just one part of us, our body's another part of us, our spirit's another part of us. And so we're all together cumulatively these layers of this existence that's here right now. So we're the result of our actions. So ultimately what we do is who we are. And our beliefs obviously play a part in filtering that, but what we do is who we are. And so this is something, even if you're operating through belief systems and you go and do something or you take action on something. I used the example this morning, if there's a rainy cloud out there today, my instant response, I'll be like, I'm really upset about that because I wanted sun. And that's based on my belief system that's there. So I have a response immediately, but the result of my action was that. That's my reality. Now I'm upset and it's raining. That's my current reality. So that's how my beliefs work for that. But actually, I have a choice in this. So my perception, which is essentially that filter that comes through that enables us to assign meaning to events, or people or places or things, which is like I perceive the cloud, I then assign meaning that it's bad, I then get upset. So this is now the understanding that I can change that. I can actually see that differently if I wanted to. My conscious mind can choose to override what my subconscious has decided there in the moment. And this is all around mindfulness and what we're being aware of. Am I upset? Am I sad? And do I want to choose consciously to change that? Because if I do, I can. So this is the really empowering part of this conversation. So again, the context is almost more important than the actual belief systems itself, because the context actually dictates the perception, which then dictates the meaning we assign, which dictates your beliefs. So the context meaning, if I give an example of that again from this morning, I just use the example of the rain clouds come over. My usual belief systems would sit there and say, I'm sad and upset because it's raining and I want it to be sunny. But if I've got context of what's going on there, maybe it's been a drought for the last 10 years. Maybe there's been no rain in the whole of the lands and everybody's starving. And this is the first time that rain has come here that we've seen for 10 years. What's my response now? If I have that context, suddenly that changes my perception immediately, changes the meaning that's attached to it, and changes what my belief systems are triggered, changes how I respond and show up to that response. And so if that's the case, if I have that context and I come in, it starts raining, suddenly I'm excited, I'm joyful, I'm dancing, singing, everybody else is out there dancing in the rain. It's amazing. So you can see how this trumps beliefs straight away is the context of what's happening with our environment. And so the thing that trumps context is perspective. When you understand the full perspective of everything that's happening, that gives rise to the context, gives rise to the perception, gives rise to the meanings and rise to the beliefs, that's when we start to really understand the mechanics of the mind and we can be very empowered. And that perspective is an easy thing that we do, and we talk about that with mindfulness, is just to really sink in and be present to start with. So forget about the past, forget about the future, just be present right here, right now, and then just detach yourself a little bit from who you are and just observe what's happening as you. So be the observer. That gives you perspective of what's happening. Are you sad? Are you happy? Are you not? What's going on with you? How are you feeling like at this point in time? But you're observing as a third party. And that really helps immediately take emotion out of things. It detaches you from a lot of the energetic experience that's happening as you observe the third party. And it gives you a place of compassion and empowerment to come in and help that person, which is you, to do something about that and change the story immediately. So you can change how that person is feeling, which is you, but you can change that conversation at any point in time. So that's what perspective gives us. And that's essentially just a little bit about the mechanics of the mind, which we've covered a little bit across this journey, because mental health is such an important conversation. And often we just don't realize how empowered we are at all those touch points along our mind's perception journey, how empowered we can be to really change those conversations. So if you find yourself sad or upset or in a place that you don't want to be, if you're thinking thoughts that you don't want to be at, some of these tools that we just talked through can be really, really helpful and empowering, just literally in seconds sometimes, to really change how you're feeling, change your physiological response to how you're feeling, change the cortisol, change all the stress that's happening in the body, just by changing your mind, which is really powerful. So this is who we are. We're a combination of our body and our biology. We're a combination of how that actually works with our mind. And we're all here in this beautiful journey together as spirit, inhabiting this body and this mind as the interpretation filter. So that's who we are. Our genius that we're here for on the planet, and this is just reflections of today, it's just best summed up by Albert Einstein's quote: everybody is genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life thinking it's stupid. So this is Albert Einstein, amazing guy, as everybody knows, but it's so true. And we spend most of our time sitting here worried about what we're not good at. We learn this, we're pattern and programming this from school. If you're getting A's in these subjects, congratulations. But what about these that you're getting B's and C's and D's at? You need to spend more time on the B's and C's and D's. And if you're getting D's, you need to spend almost all your time there to try and pick up your grades, which essentially says you're not naturally good at whatever you're getting a D in. But hey, why don't you spend all your time in that, which is the opposite of what we should be doing, which is, hey, Matt, you're an amazing genius for A's. Go and spend all your time here. That's why you're on the planet. You're a fish. You should go swim. Go swim. Stop trying to learn how to climb a tree. Go swim. And we've kind of somewhere along the way got this wrong. Hopefully we're starting to get it right. It's just actually common sense. There's no rocket science in this. It's not to crazy deep psychology. It's just do what you're here to do. Do what you're good at, because that's why you're on the planet. We actually chose, as spirit, we've chosen these bodies to come down here for some reason, for some purpose. We just happen to have chose bodies that we can do things with. If I was a fish, I'd be swimming. I wouldn't be climbing. If I was a monkey, I'd be climbing. I wouldn't be swimming. It's really obvious. And we use those examples, and we did at the start of this summit to say, for a human example, if I'm a weightlifter, I'm going to have a big, strong body to be able to lift heavy weights. Whereas if I'm a marathon runner, I'm going to have a very thin body so I can run a long distance for a long time. So we choose the body we're here to do, and we have a capacity to be able to do certain things. Can all of us run? Yeah, all of us can run. Are some of us terrible runners? Yeah. Are some of us really, really slow? Yeah. Are some of us going to end up breaking down if we run? Yeah, that's okay. And are some of us unbelievably incredible at sprinting, a 10-meter sprint at the lightning speed? Yes, absolutely. But not everybody's built the same, and everybody is different in those aspects. But can we all run? Yes. Can we all swim? Yes. So just to understand our natural strengths, we really encourage you to focus on what you're naturally here to be good at. It just enables all this energy, all this flow, gets rid of all the stigma, all the problems and issues and limitations with lack and fear and doubt and all those things that we're trying to move away from when we have mental health issues, and bring it back and flip the conversation to what we're great at, what we're empowered, and how we're here to be empowered with the things that we can do with our natural abilities and our gifts and our talents. So, of course, this journey has an amazing technology as part of it. I hope you're all really enjoying getting into Shay. This actually quantifies that for us. It's the first time this technology that we're aware of is able to do this on the planet. It's been around for many, many years. We've been working on this for over 20 years. And this has been live for people to use since 2014, going through testing phases to make sure that this is going to be something that can really be so powerful for people to really get their heads around. So this enables you to scan your body on the outside using your smartphone to understand what's happening on the inside, to really understand the different body clocks, the way that your biorhythms are working, your neuropsychology, neurotypes, brain frequencies. It's incredible information, incredible technology that then is able to give you this feedback through AI to help you understand the things that are really good for you. It helps you understand how your mind works. And some of these things here really encourage you to dive deep if you haven't already today. Today is obviously the reflection session, but we hope you've had a chance, if you haven't yet, get into it tonight. How you can use your mind to be more mindful, how you can actually come into this space of right now and drop down deep and be the observer to really detach from those feelings you might be having. It enables you to understand what your natural brain function is like things that actually support your brain to stay focused, to be in the zone, to be living your potential and focused on those things that are great for you. And in the zone here, how to take that bird's eye view of your mind and really step back and really be empowered in that space, that knowledge, that awareness, which is what we're all here for. It's really, really powerful. Please get in and check it out. And there's a section on your genius in there too, which actually helps just literally translate your strengths into action to help you live your purpose while you're on the planet. It's really amazing information and insights in here. Please go check it out. This is all here for you. This is our 10-day journey, and we're here together as a beautiful community, gathering around mental health, the conversation that's here. And on that note, I'd just like to thank again our major sponsor, Precision Health Alliance, who's here supplying over 1,500 health professionals, doctors, psychologists, nutritionists, dietitians, the whole likes, exercise physiologists. Everybody's here to support you on your journey. This is all volunteers. This is all here because they want to support you. So please get in the Facebook group and take advantage of these amazing people to support you on your journey here for mental health for this 10 days. So our final reflection on our Genius and Purpose Day here today is your biology, your personality, your passions, and your purpose contribute to your identity. This is who you are. So today, just understanding who you are, understanding what brings you into flow. And the question that I'll leave you with today is, how do you feel when you do an activity that combines them all? How do you feel when you do an activity that combines them all? And what would it take to do that more often? And can you do that today? Out of all days, today is the day. This is our day on day 6 here of the 10-day Global Wellness Challenge. Please make some time for yourself. to go deep, to connect with you and reconnect with you and rediscover who you are, maybe for the first time in a long time, and then share yourself in a safe space in this community so we can all celebrate you, inspire you, motivate you, reward you. It's what we're here for. This is a journey together, but it starts with you. It starts with our inner peace. It starts with our peace of mind, which is our tagline for this summit, Peace of Mind Summit. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking the time for you to dive deep into that conversation. Thank you so much for just allowing us to be part of your journey. And I really hope that you can all dive into that conversation and internally for yourself and with others today, of all days, on your journey. So that's the segment that's here this morning, just this reflection from today. I hope it's been helpful and enlightening and helping you become more aware, of the conversation that we're here for. So other than that, without further ado, I'm going to switch gears now into Anne Larson, who's going to bring us into a beautiful meditative state. Our meditations are here each day, every morning and every night. We're doing meditations just to be able to drop in. The days get busy, to be able to really be more in that mindful space, to bring you to the present, to allow you just to detach and step back a little bit. So Anne, thank you so much again for being here. And I'm going to hand over to you right now. Thank you, Anne.
Welcome back to this mindfulness meditation, where you have the opportunity to reflect on genius and purpose and how that played out for you after you created a vision for these, how that played out for you over the last day, days, weeks, months. So let's just start by taking our attention to the current moment by pushing your feet into the floor. And then taking your attention to the breath. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. And not trying to change your breath, although you may find as you breathe, your breath softens and deepens a little bit. If you can now, close your eyes. If not, stay focused on what is happening around you, but you can pay attention to my voice. Now, with eyes closed or not, begin your journey to the sacred place. See that path open up in front of you, the path that you've created to this place that belongs only to you. Walk along that path until you see the vista of your sacred space open up in front of you. What can you see now? Now that you're looking at your sacred space, what can you see? And what can you hear in this sacred space? Can you hear the sounds of nature? Is it completely quiet? And then, what are the physical sensations of being in this place? Are you warm? Are you cool? Is the temperature constant? Is it fluctuating? Is there any air movement, or is it completely still? What do your clothes feel like on your body? Just be aware of all those sensations. And now move into that special place within your sacred space where you're going to reflect on what's been occurring around your genius and your purpose. So now in that reflection, what did you notice about your genius? Did you notice that you spent a lot of that time in flow? Or did you notice that actually you spent a lot of time with gritted teeth using your willpower? And when you did get into that flow, what helped you? Were you able to recognize your genius? Did you realize that you had that? Was this news to you? Or is it something that you always knew deep down you had, but you hadn't really thought about it clearly? Or is it something you're really familiar with? You really know that this is your great flow space. And whichever one of those that it is, just pay attention to that. And pay attention to what was happening that had you in that place. What helped you in that genius? Did it help you to be on your own? Did it aid you by having other people around you? Did you need quiet? Did you love stimulation from music or other people around you? You loved working in a cafe. You realized that extra noise was wonderful for you. You just felt part of the human tribe in that way. Or did you notice that sort of noise really got you out of your flow and that you loved being in a quiet space on your own? Did you notice in your genius that you are just really adaptable and great at problem solving and really fast and quick off the mark? That when something needs to be done, you can really get it done fast. You can think really, really quickly. Did you notice that? And if you did notice that about yourself, do you have a purpose in life that fits with? How does it fit with your purpose? Or are you someone that realized, I really am at a slower pace. I really needed to consider that for a long time. And I really like to, when I learn, I don't want to take action immediately. I want to go away and consider all of that. Well, if that's your flow and that's your genius to be considerate over time, how does that fit with your purpose? Did you notice that it wasn't very clear to you what your purpose is or what you believe your purpose to be? And if that's the case, spend some more time thinking about this purpose. What are the questions that you need to ask yourself? What is purpose anyway? How do you make meaning for why you're here on the planet in this moment in time? Is there something that you feel like you need to be creating, being part of, leading? What is that? What is that vision for yourself when you've been contemplating genius and purpose? Do you know what it is that you want your genius to flow into? And that purpose can be anything that makes meaning to you. Spending more time in loving kindness, just how you want to show up in the world. And this could be showing up just to the person in front of you, or your family, or your customer, or your client. When I'm there and I show up in loving kindness and non-judgment, then I know I'm living my purpose. Do you have a purpose where you feel like you have a vision and goals that you need to make progress towards that? And if you realize that, how are you going to use your genius to keep you in flow so that you can really hit those goals, really create that success that you are looking for? And now is a wonderful time to ask yourself, is there something else I need to do to support my genius? Am I living my life in a way that most supports my potential, whatever that may be? If yes, that is wonderful. Do more of that. If it's yes, I know that I've sorted out a life where I can have time aside to focus on my vision, on my purpose, then that's wonderful. If you found that you didn't have that, then ask yourself, how can I create that now? What can I do? What's realistic to do in my life now so that I have more time to move into my genius and create my purpose? When you see yourself in flow, in your genius, and either living your purpose or moving towards your purpose, how does that feel? Imagine again this as a ball of energy in the center of your body, whatever color you want or multicolored. And imagine this sense of purpose and this lovely genius as it builds energy within you. And now imagine that energy starting to vibrate and pulsate in a way that it starts to go out into the world, so that you in your flow and genius and living your purpose flows out to those around you, those close to you, and then out to your community, out to your society, your country, out into the whole world, to all living creatures, to all of nature, and then out to the universe. What is that like? To be living your genius and purpose in such an expansive way. Just feel that. As you breathe, feel that expansiveness. And now that you have felt that amazing feeling, bring that back into this ball of purposeful energy that just energizes you and has you full of joy and purpose and productivity for whatever it is that you're going to go out into the world and do today, tomorrow, in the next week, months, years, decades, what ripples you're going to make through the centuries. And now we're going to bring our attention back into the here and now, but we're going to hold on to that expansive joy, the expansive joy of genius and purpose. So push your feet into the ground. Notice the sounds around you. Take 3 deep breaths. And then when you're ready, be paying more and more attention to your external surroundings. Open your eyes, bringing with you that wonderful feeling. And enjoy.
Thank you so much, Anne. What a beautiful way just to dive into who we are on this beautiful World Mental Health conversation. Thank you all so much for being here. We really, really appreciate your time, your energy, your passion, your expertise. And today we hear about genius and flow. And we've got an incredible guest that's coming up as our next speaker that's here. I hope you can get excited as for what he's going to deliver. So we have Craig Harper. He's one of Australia's leading presenters, writers, and educators in areas of health, high performance, resilience, self-management, leadership, corporate change, communication, personal transformation, and more broadly, human behavior. Craig's worked as an exercise scientist, a corporate speaker, a business consultant, high performance coach, university lecturer, AFL conditioning coach, radio host, TV presenter, newspaper columnist, and successful business owner. He has a popular podcast called The You Project and is author of 7 books and is currently completing a PhD in neuropsychology. Craig, I don't know if there's much that you haven't done, but we're certainly excited for the conversation today, which is all around the optimal you. So Craig's been helping people optimize their time, energy, potential, their mind, body, emotions, choices, and actions for 40 years. which is very exciting. He's an exercise scientist, an author, a speaker, a high-performance coach, neuropsychology researcher and educator, and Craig spends his days empowering people towards their version of success, purpose, and optimal living. So this is a conversation all about that. Craig, we're really happy and excited to have you here today to share that with us. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for that. It's a lot. It's because I'm very old. I've done all that stuff. That's the only reason.
It's exactly why, mate. We'll jump into it. We're super excited to hear from you today, mate. Thank you so much for sharing your passion, your genius with us today.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, everyone else. I really appreciate being part of the Peace of Mind extravaganza. I think it's amazing. It's a blessing for me to be part of it, and I appreciate all Matt's nice words. So my session will be quite different to the last. Not better, worse, just different. I kind of see myself as a pracademic. So just to give you context, I've spent the last 40 years helping people change stuff. So I started in 1982 when probably half of you listening weren't born, but I started working as a gym instructor back in the old days when gym instructors still things? I'm not sure. I think they are. I think fitness instructors and personal trainers these days. But back in the old days, I started as a gym instructor. I started writing programs and doing assessments and talking to people and listening to people's stories and helping them, move weights and lift weights and run and skip and try to create different health outcomes and fitness and performance and well-being outcomes. And I was 18 years old, so clearly I was an authority. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I had a basic qualification and I very much learned on the job. And that was 40 years ago. And so for 40 years, as Matt said, I've been doing a lot of different things, but that was my starting point. That was my genesis. And when I was thinking about this presentation, I was thinking, what can I bring that's authentic and real? It's not a presentation. It's not something I've wheeled out 50 times or 100 times. And something that adds value, but also something that is consistent with what we're about, which is peace of mind. And as Matt said, my PhD is in neuropsychology, and I'm looking at an area of self-awareness. I'm stumbling into my 4th year of that soon. And so I've been, really fascinated for 4 decades about the body and with the body and with the mind and with the emotions and with the human that lives in the middle of all of that, and psychology and sociology and situation and circumstance and high performance and happiness and joy and pain and the myriad of variables that compose the human experience. And that's what I want to talk about today. And so I've literally spent 40 years, 4 decades with people who want to change stuff. People who, think about everyone, for example, who goes to a gym. Everyone who goes to a gym or joins a gym for the first time, nearly all of those people want to change something. They want to feel better or look better or perform better or have better health or a better immune system or less back pain or lower blood pressure or less anxiety or less stress or more control or produce better outcomes on some level. And there's a process and there's a science to that. And some people with what seems to be not incredible potential create incredible results, and other people with amazing potential seemingly seem to underachieve. All of that stuff fascinates me. And I've worked with the general public and alcoholics and addicts and high performers in elite sport. I've worked with lots of Olympians and professional sporting teams here in Australia and blokes in prison, men in prison, corporates, the general public, and broadly a cross-section of humanity. And so I've been fortunate enough to be able to sit back and observe lots of people doing lots of things, trying to create their version of better, their version of success, their version of performance, their version of growth. And I was thinking, what can I share in 30 minutes that kind of encapsulates or is an opening of the door, an insight into some of the things that I've learned with a bunch of people. That's not just repetitive jargon that we hear about the mind, and it's not just press play and here's another motivational presentation. So I want to share with you 10, I'll see how we go for time because I'm a bit chatty, but I want to share with you 10 thoughts, 10 ideas, 10 constructs that I have learned, that I've observed, that I've been part of, that have been for me really transformational, and for many others very transformational and empowering and insightful into the whole human experience journey. So let's go through those. So number one is thought, idea, construct. Number one is that the easy path eventually becomes the hard path. Often becomes the hard path, maybe. In my experience working with people who, and observing people who have perpetually chosen the easy path, the quick fix, the silver bullet, the magic pill, the 2-minute abs, the whatever it is, that the idea of the reward without the work, the destination without the journey. And the interesting thing is that when I talk to people, most people want to improve, learn, grow. Most people, if we have a conversation, they want to be a better version, and there's no self-loathing in this, just awareness, but they want to be a better version of what they currently are, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, personally, professionally. They want to do better than they are. And the dichotomy is, as I see it and have experienced it many times, is that the thing that we want, which is growth, which is development, which is insight, which is skill, which is an ability to perform under pressure and to be the calm in the chaos, that state of equanimity, that beautiful state of equanimity, being in the middle of what sometimes is madness and chaos, but being okay, is me managing me. How do I manage me in the middle of all of the stuff that I can't manage? That ability, that skill. How do we develop that? How do we become more resilient? How do we become stronger? How do we become more effective and more efficient? How do we be the calm in the chaos? And where does that strength and that insight and that skill and that development and that learning and that growth, where does that happen? Again, my experience, my observation, it doesn't happen when we're comfortable. It happens when we're leaning into the hard stuff. It happens when we're working against resistance. That's where growth, that's where adaptation, that's where resilience come from. If you, as Matt said, my background is originally in sport, is in exercise physiology, exercise science, is working with athletes and teams and bodybuilders and strength athletes and track athletes and team sport athletes and so on. And what we know, any of you who have worked out and done any form of strength training, be that in a gym or elsewhere, whether it's dumbbells, kettlebells, barbells, CrossFit, doesn't matter what it is, what modality, but anyone who has tried to get strong is aware that there's a principle behind strength development, and that is what we call progressive resistance overload. That is, we do something that's a bit hard for us. It's heavy, it's hard, it's fatiguing, it's slightly painful. We do it, and then we do it enough, and then it's not so hard. And then we do something harder. We find a heavier weight. We do more reps. We reduce our recovery time. We find a way to overload our system. And when we work a bit harder physiologically, we get this thing called adaptation, which is growth, which is strength, which is muscular endurance, aerobic endurance, increased power, speed. All of these things are biological adaptations to a hard thing that we do. And that's where we grow. And we can extrapolate this idea to sometimes, not all the time. We don't want to live in this constant space of leaning into the pain and putting ourselves in the middle of the chaos, but sometimes choosing the hard path, that sometimes the thing that I need to do to grow, to learn, to evolve, sometimes the thing that you need to do to grow, to learn, to evolve, to adapt, sometimes it's not the thing we want to do. So this addiction that sometimes we have to being comfortable, it's an illusion, in that eventually, when we constantly choose the easy path, we almost prepare ourselves for pain, for disaster, because we're not equipping ourselves to be strong. And as much as we would love the world to be fair and awesome and kind all the time and painless. And it isn't. That's not the world we live in. The world that we live in is sometimes, yes, it's beautiful and gorgeous. And there are amazing events like this and amazing facilitators like the ones we're seeing in this program, and people who can, there's all of that, which is beautiful, but there's also the messiness of the human experience. There's the unfairness, there's the pain, there's the injustice, there's all of the things that we all know about. And in the middle of all of that stuff that we can't control, I believe that our job, our responsibility is to build ourselves up so that when we need to cope and adapt and survive and thrive and perform and be resilient and be efficient and be effective in the middle of the stuff that's not ideal or optimal for us, we have that capacity. You know, it's interesting. I started a podcast a few years ago. This is not a plug or an ad, but I started a podcast. We're nearly at 1,000 episodes, and we're now doing 7 days a week of this podcast. And for the first 500 shows that I did, I lost money. For the first 100 shows, we had 3 people and my mum and my uncle. I'm pretty sure that was the audience. It was an uphill battle. And it's taken 4.5 years of grinding, of losing money, of being embarrassed, of failing, of falling down, of doing things that didn't work, of trying to figure out the formula, the science, that what works, what will people connect with, how long, what kind of conversations, what kind of people, what kind of topics, what kind of, you know. Now we're 4.5 years into this process that's been messy and not fun and not comfortable and not quick and not painless at times, all of that. But also in the middle of that, I've grown my understanding, my awareness, my skill, my knowledge, my ability to be able to do the things that I need to do. And this thing that I'm talking about is not about me or my show. It's a process. It's a science. It's a protocol that we can all lean into. So number one is the easy path eventually becomes the hard path, but also importantly, the hard path eventually becomes the easy path. Number two, how are we going? I've got 18 minutes. How are we going? Number two is that, so thought or idea or lesson number 2 for me over my journey has been that our thoughts, emotions, and body are an integrated system. So one system: mind, emotion, body. Some might say spirituality. Let's just stick with mind, body, emotion for the moment. And in science and in medicine, in a lot of other health kind of, disciplines, we treat everything in isolation. And to a point, I understand that. And there are times when that needs to be the case. But also, when we truly understand the role that the mind plays in our physiology and in our health and our immune system and in our cellular health. And, you know, even think about this, if you're listening to this right now and you think something, I'm not suggesting you do this, but you think all of a sudden you have a thought in your mind that something terrible is going to happen, which it's not, but you have that thought. And let's also say that in this alternate reality that you're thinking something bad's going to happen, the truth is nothing bad's going to happen. You're fine, you're safe, but you think there is. Then all of a sudden that thought is wrapped in emotion, which is anxiety and fear, and they're kind of interchangeable, you know, the thoughts and the emotional stuff. But now what's happening in our body is a response to the thought, which is elevated heart rate and blood pressure and, you know, and all the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. And now my sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, is switched on. And now my breathing's kind of quicker and shorter and more shallow. And now I'm in a physiological state of stress because I had a thought. And so what's the take home? The take home is to understand that everything affects everything. What's happening in my mind affects my emotions. What's happening in my emotions affects my mind. What's happening in my body affects both of those things. It's an interchangeable back and front circular system. And understanding that, like, I realized the first book I ever wrote was about the psychology of getting in shape, because I actually realized, even as a young gym instructor when I was in my early 20s, that helping people change their body, for example, fitter, leaner, lighter, stronger, healthier, whatever, and maintaining it over time, that's the key, maintaining it. not starting this thing and then stopping it 4 weeks later, but doing this thing and maintaining this thing, and not just following a program or a diet, but actually changing their cognitive default setting, actually changing their cognitive, emotional, and behavioral default setting so that now they created a new operating system around food and movement and lifestyle and health and well-being and all of the other variables, right? This is largely a physiological consequence and outcome that's driven by psychology and emotion. And so how much I understood as an exercise scientist about anatomy and physiology and biomechanics and energy systems and cellular physiology and all of these things, they mattered, but they didn't matter as much as how well I understood the human in the body. And this is something that for me, you know, I've taken into all of the work that I do when even if I'm working with somebody and the reason that they show up is really about their body. To me, the body is almost the consequence of the other stuff. I start with the other stuff and then we get there. So number 2 is your mind, emotions, body. Mind, emotions, and body are one integrated system. I've got to keep going because we're on a time budget. Number three relates to my PhD research, which is around self-awareness. My experience and observation and research is that a lot of us don't have great self-awareness. And that's nothing to panic about. That's not a criticism. That's just an observation, myself included, when I really started to dive into this. And my research is around a thing it's called a few things, but for my research, we're calling it external self-awareness, which is essentially, in layman's terms, your ability to understand what it's like for others to be around you. So if I was personalizing it, it would be, I would ask myself, what's the Craig experience like for others? What is the Craig experience like that for others? And why does that matter? And this is not to be confused with, oh, what do people like me? Do people want to hang out with me? Am I this enough or that enough? No, that's insecurity. That's potentially self-loathing. We're talking about self-awareness, which is, if I can understand how people perceive and process and experience me as a teacher, as a coach, as a communicator, as a problem solver, as a conflict resolver, as a communicator and connector, if I can understand their version of me, then I can create greater connection. And also perhaps more importantly, if I can just more broadly, theory of mind in psychology talks about our ability to understand somebody else's in the moment reality. So even now, right now, I'm in Melbourne, Australia at 17 minutes past 10, part of me is aware of or thinking about or considering what this experience, so I'm in the Craig experience, I'm wondering what it's like for the listener, for the observer, for the viewer, for the person around the world, listening to this weird accent from this weird dude. So having that awareness. So when I sit down, I go, I want to share some thoughts and ideas. How do I share these thoughts and ideas in a way that doesn't make sense to me, but makes sense to my audience, that resonates, that connects with my audience? So when I have an awareness bigger than myself, I'm creating better engagement, better connection, better relationships. I become more effective socially and emotionally and interpersonally. And then I guess the last component of self-awareness I want to quickly touch on is the ever-present feedback that we're getting. And what is that feedback? So what are my relationships telling me? What is my body telling me? We call that biofeedback. What's my bank balance telling me? What are my colleagues at work telling me? What is that still small voice telling me? We're always getting feedback. We're always getting data. And sometimes we're so busy. Sometimes we're so Groundhog Daying it. Sometimes we're so swept up in the continuum and the process and the busyness and the mayhem of our existence that we don't be still and we don't pay attention. And it's all there. And I would encourage you, if you have an awareness of something that you're not addressing, maybe this is a moment, maybe this is a sign, maybe this is a pit stop for you, maybe this is a trigger for you to go, I'm not going to put my metaphoric head in the sand. I'm not going to pretend that it'll fix itself. In general terms, we don't accidentally succeed. In general terms, we don't accidentally land on our feet and things don't figure themselves out in general terms. Generally, we figure it out. Generally, we do the work. We create the outcomes. We have the awareness. We develop our skill. We lean into our potential. We make the decisions. We do the work. We create the outcomes. My next one that I want to talk about quickly is a thing called metacognition, which a lot of you will know or have heard about. Metacognition, essentially, again, in layman's simple terms, it is thinking about thinking. And we kind of covered that a little bit in the last one, but thinking about thinking is to start to think about the way that I process this. It's much bigger than this, but we don't have time. But the way that I process the world around me, the way that I process situations, circumstance, environments, other people, the stories that I tell myself, my interpretation of certain outcomes, the way that I rationalize, the way that the kind of decisions that I ask, the kind of reality that I am creating for myself, devoid of the literal physical reality that I inhabit. So think about this. There's the thing that's happening around you, to you, despite you, because of you, perhaps. There's the thing that's happening in our physical, external, three-dimensional world. And then there's you and me in the middle of that, making sense of it, rationalizing it, explaining it, breaking it down, interpreting the data. So that's why. So if you think about this right now, there's, I don't know how many people watching or listening, but lots of people watching and listening. One guy right now, one bloke, same head, same voice, same information, same inbound stimulus. And here's the crazy interesting thing about this. Nobody's having an identical experience. It's possible that right now somebody is, their experience is one of fascination and engagement. Somebody else, it's curiosity. Somebody else, it's boredom. Who's next, they're thinking. How do we get this guy off faster, they're thinking. For somebody else, it might be confusion. For somebody else, it might be a light bulb moment, a revelation because I've said something. But when you think, well, that's the same inbound stimulus, where do all of these different experiences come from? They come from you. Because on a level, you are the creator of your experience, your internal reality. And remember, as you navigate life and work and business and parenting and leadership and problem solving and conflict resolving, remember the only person who lives in your mind, in inverted commas, is you. And when we expect people to think like us, which we do quite often, and we expect people's experience to be our intention, oh, I'm speaking clearly, why don't you understand me? Well, because to them, it's not clear. To you, it's clear. To them, it's confusing. To them, it's condescending. To them, it's criticism. To you, it's motivation and inspiration. To them, it's something else. So thinking about thinking is a really important part of the growth journey. And it's a really important part of creating that optimal existence. Number 5, definitely going to run out of time. That's all right. Number 5, success is not often what you think or where you think. Quick snapshot. By the time I was 30 years old, I had 100 staff and 5 businesses. And by all external practical measures of how we kind of value or judge success in our culture in Australia anyway, I was successful. House, car, stuff, money, all of the success KPIs. And in the middle of all of my success, I felt very unsuccessful. I felt somewhat jaded, deluded, exhausted. Had all of these people working for me. I had all of these businesses. I was ticking all the boxes. And from me outside looking in, my life was shiny and amazing. And I was a success story. But in the middle of that, I was actually quite anxious, quite tired, didn't feel fulfilled, and all of the things that you've probably heard people say before. Which is not to say that making money or having a successful business or brand is bad. Of course it's not. But it is to say that the external situation doesn't necessarily equal the internal experience for the person. And so all I want to say about this is that, 1, success is a slippery construct. It's not finite. It's not set in stone. It's not arbitrary. I want, like if I could see you now and exchange with you now, and I said to you, put up your hand if you want to be successful, without overthinking that question. Just if you want to be successful, I'm sure every hand would go up. And then I would say to you quickly, what does that mean for you? And the gap between the question and your answer tells me a lot. I suggest that you think about what success is for you based on your values, who you want to be, how you want to be, what you want to do, what you want to create, rather than some arbitrary concept that's been programmed into you by our culture or by your parents or by society. Because for me, and I can't go into it, we don't have time, but for me, success is a very different thing to what I was programmed with growing up. Number 6, invest your time, energy, skill, talent where you'll get the best return. Control your controllables. So many people waste those things, time, effort, energy, talent, skill, where they get a very poor return. They spend a lot of time, effort, and energy focusing on things that are out of their control. We can acknowledge them. We know that they exist, but let's not live in the middle of that stuff that we can't change. Number 7 is your body is always telling you something. I mentioned this before. It's part of the self-awareness, but your body, I believe that obviously, you know, for me, I guess I'm a bit biased if I can recognize I'm a bit biased in that I think if we have a really strong, functional, healthy body, immune system, skeleton, posture, muscular system, cardiovascular system, it sets us up for better. And it's not about being an Olympic athlete. It's not about being world-class anything. It's about, you've got one body, I've got one body, you can't get another one. That's your one, that's your addition, that's your body. And I think that we are, and this is no revelation for you because you're a very educated audience, but we can be very reactive, not proactive. We get really busy when something bad happens. Don't wait for the something bad. Love your body. Your body is a gift. Number 8, motivation is overrated. Motivation is great when it's there, but motivation is a sometimes emotion. Motivation in the sense that we're talking about now, which is I'm pumped, I'm excited, I'm in the zone. You know, I heard Craig speak and wow, maybe not, but I'm excited. I've got to do stuff. Guess what? That's going to pass. And what I care about is what you do when you're not motivated. What I care about is what you do when no one's looking, no one's clapping, there's no fan club, there's no support system. Nobody cares perhaps in that moment. It's just you and you. You're not inspired. You're not excited. I believe that real growth, real development, real resilience, real strength, real awareness, and real breakthrough happens when we can be the person who does what success, whatever that means for you, what success demands, when most people would give up. When most people would go, my back's sore, it's too dark, it's too cold, I'm too tired, it's too hard, no one cares. Then is when we lean in. Then is when we step up, not step down. And for me, that's that real where we create that base of strength and resilience. And it's not about being some warrior. It's not about being some alpha chest beating idiot. It's not about that. It's about you getting out the most. It's you getting the most out of you. Number 9 is big effort trumps big potential. Potential's great, but it's kind of fixed, isn't it? What you do with it is not fixed, but it's fixed. But effort is a variable. I've worked with lots of people who have had amazing potential who underachieved because they wouldn't do the work. And as I said at the start of this, other people who weren't truly gifted. I'm not gifted at all. I don't have great genetics. I'm not super smart. I can't sing. I'm not a truly gifted person, but I have a big engine. I have a big work ethic. And so what we know is if we step up and do the work and control the thing that we can, which is effort and energy and focus and work ethic, then amazing things can happen. And last one is listen to your internal sat nav. Your internal sat nav is that internal guidance system that you have. You know what it is. It's that still small voice. It's that intuition. It's that knowledge and that awareness and that genius that you have that you don't know where it comes from, but it's there. Nobody taught it. Nobody told you. Nobody programmed you with it. It's there. It's your values. It's your beliefs. It's your faith. It's your purpose. It's your internal guidance system. And when we pay attention to that and we live in alignment with that internal sat nav, when we live in alignment with that wisdom, that genius that's always talking and speaking, sometimes we've got our fingers in our ears, but when we take them out and tune in, then now we're living an aligned life. And if we're living an aligned life, there's probably less stress and anxiety and more joy. 30 minutes, bang. Thank you, everyone.
Craig, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. I actually am very impressed you got through all 10 in 30 minutes. And I'd like to reflect on that, mate, just for you sharing your genius. I know you sort of said there that you've got a big engine, but you don't have lots of other things. I think there's going to be plenty of takeaways for lots of people from this talk, mate. So I really appreciate you sharing very honestly and openly from the heart and from your experience, which I believe it certainly carries a lot more weight than doing a standard presentation. This is really meaningful. I hope everybody can take in 40 years of Craig's experience, summarised into 10 key points in 30 minutes. I believe that's really powerful, Craig. So thank you so much for making the time to be here with us today and for sharing that for the benefit of everybody for their mental health on this journey for this global audience. So you're a superstar and we really appreciate you, Craig. Thank you so much.
It's a total pleasure, Matt. And thank you, everyone. Love you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Craig. So we're going to switch gears now, guys. We're going to get our movement on. So we're here with our movement specialist, G, who is a movement therapist based on the Gold Coast in Australia. He's got a holistic and integrative approach to health and helps his clients move away from pain and regain control of their bodies in that way. So I hope you are ready, or please, if you're not ready, get ready to switch gears. So we're about to move our bodies, about to reconnect in. We've been through all the benefits of mental health to do with how we move our bodies. And G is about to take us through a very interesting and incredible experience right now. So G, I'm going to hand over to you, but get ready. This isn't a high intensity workout. This is just moving our bodies for a place of health in a way that you may not have done before. It's very, very enlightening and very empowering. G, over to you. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Guillaume, also known as G. I'm a movement therapist, personal trainer, and founder of Peak Movement on the Gold Coast in Australia. In today's Genius session, I would like to take you through some purposeful movements, and I simply invite you to move. We're going to go through a combination of movements that you can use every day at home as part of your exercise routine at the gym, or even simply on holidays. Just think of parts of your body that you're either going to work out and exercise, or that might feel a little bit tense and sticky and need a little bit more attention. So we're going to go through 4 different types of movement, and we're going to combine the first 2 and the second 2 together into some mini flows. Our first movement is called an ape reach to an open position. This is a movement taken from the animal flow practice that combines many different modalities from yoga, capoeira, breakdancing, and gymnastics. So we're going to start into our deepest squat as possible. For some of you, it might be just to bring the hips all the way down, feet flat on the floor. And if it's not possible that way, and this is your deepest squat here, this is absolutely fine as well. So I'm going to assume my deepest squat position, which we call an ape, a deep ape position. I'm going to bring the back of the palm of my hand together. Fingertips are going to be just an inch off the floor, and my head is going to be looking down in between my shoulders. In that position, I'm really feeling a great stretch through my spine from the top of my neck to the base of my tailbone. This is our ape reach position. It's a great stretch for the entire part of your back. To get into our open position, we're going to shift the weight onto the toes, lift the heels off the ground, drive your knees forward and out, and we're going to stand tall with the arms out on the side at shoulder height, palms facing up towards the ceiling. This is an open ape position. Squeezing the shoulder blades, opening up through the front here, and arms out. Imagine that someone is pulling your arms apart from your rib cage. We're getting some great space here through the shoulder joint. To return to our ape reach position, we're going to start rotating the arms forward. So think of your thumbs rotating forward and down. And we're going to shift the weight back through the entire foot, contacting the heels into the ground. Arms are going to reach forward, fingertips about an inch off the floor, head in between the shoulders. Then we're back to ape reach position. We're going to do this movement here 4 more times. So take a deep breath in. Shift your weight onto your toes, lift your heels off the ground, drive your knees forward, arms out, palms facing up towards the ceiling. This is an open ape position. Return to ape reach. Initiate the return with the hands rotating forward and down. Drive your heels back towards the floor. Hands forward, fingertips just about an inch from the floor. Head is in between the shoulders. 3 more repetitions here. Open ape. Heels off the ground, knees forward and out, palms up and arms out towards the side. Inhale, going back down towards the floor, and exhale. Take a deep breath in. Open, knees forward and out, palms up towards the sky, standing tall onto your heels. Return to ape reach. We're going to do one more repetition here. Open. And return to ape reach. I really love this exercise because it's really mobilizing the toes, the ankles, the knees, the hips, spine, shoulder blades, and shoulder joints. So the next movement here is going to nice little combination of a loaded position to really open up the hips when we step forward. Again, this is taken from an Animal Flow philosophy with a little twist here because we're going to add an extra movement of rotation through the shoulders. So I'm just going to show you the movement first, and then we're going to do it together. So our start position, it's called a loaded beast. It's very similar to the yoga child pose position. The main difference is that we are activating the body. The body is under tension here. This is not a rest pose. The knees are going to be just about an inch off the floor again. So assuming this position here, I'm going to sit back onto my heels. Knees are going to be about an inch or two off the floor. Hands are going to be sliding forward, but we're going to really engage with the abdominals here to sit back onto the heels, so pushing the hands into the floor. The next movement is a front step. So I'm going to replace here my left hand with my left foot and simply stepping forward. Once my foot hits the ground, I'm going to take my hand off the floor. At this moment here, I can bring my hand to the side of the face, but we're going to continue the rotation by reaching up with the left arm and try to stack both arms on top of each other. If you can't go all the way up here, but just go there, that's fine. Just go as far as you can go. And we're going to now close the gap towards the floor. The goal here is to bring the forearm or the elbow as close to the floor or in contact with the floor. It's a nice deep stretch here, so inside the hip. Note that my back knee here is not touching the ground. In that position here, I can really sink my hips down, and therefore I'm getting a greater stretch with the front hamstring and the back hip flexor there. Planting my hand back down to the floor. I'm going to go back to my loaded position. I'm going to step forward now with my right foot, opening up through the sky and closing the gap down, hand down, back to the loaded beast. We're going to do 3 repetitions on each side for this one here. So set your loaded position, toes are bent, going to sit on top of the heels with the bum, push the ground away so you can start lifting your knees off the floor. If that's too difficult for you, we can allow you, again, to have the knees on the floor and start into a similar child pose in yoga. I'm going to start with a left leg front step. So I'm going to step forward, replace my left hand, with my left foot. Take my left arm all the way up, stop the rotation, and then close the gap, bringing the arm down. Left hand to the floor, left foot goes back into a loaded position. Extend forward, right leg front step, open up towards the ceiling, close the gap towards the floor. Hand down, step back into your loaded position. Left leg front step, step forward again now. Maybe you can go already for a little bit further, that's great. Open up, close the gap. Hand down, foot back. Same thing on the right side. Right leg front step, step right. Take the right hand off the floor. Open up towards the ceiling, stack both arms on top of each other. Bring your right hand down. Right hand down. Step back. One more repetition on each side. Left leg front step. Take the arm up. Close the gap. Right. Return to your loaded position. Last one here. Right leg front step. Open up. And down. Return to your loaded position. And then rest. Right. We're getting the heart rate going up here, but think of you having a lot of loading forward and back. So we're getting that nice preparation for the joints all the way from the toes towards the shoulders and the hands. So now we'd like you to try to combine both of this movement together. The ape reach to open ape, and we're going to slide our hands forward into a loaded position, and we're going to do front step on each side and opening with arms. I'll just show you what it's going to look like. But that's going to be our first mini flow. So I'm going to start into my deepest ape position, deepest squat as possible. Bring the back of the palm of the hands together. Open. I'm going to return to my reaching position here. I'm going to slide my hands to the floor, just to the point where my knees are an inch off the floor. I'm going to take my left foot forward, left step. Arm up, closing down. Left hand down, return to a loaded position. Right leg front step. Open up. And close. Hand down, return to loaded position. Push back to your ape position with your hands. Okay? Let's see if we can do 3 of them. That would be 3 steps on each side here. Go at your own pace, but I will call it out and see if you can follow me on this one. So, let's begin into our deepest squat as possible. Deep ape here. Ape reach. Bring the hands together, fingertips about an inch off the floor. Open. Heels are off the floor, palms facing up, standing tall. Knees are driven forward. Return to ape reach. Slide your hands down onto the floor until you come into that loaded position. Knees are still just off the floor. Left leg front step. Step forward. Left arm up, close the gap, hand down, return to loaded position. Right leg front step, step forward with the right leg, take the right arm up towards the ceiling, rotate, right arm down, push back to your loaded position, and push back to your deep ape. Into our ape reach position here, second repetition here. We're going to open up again. Return to ape reach, heels down to the floor, slide your hands down, knees just about an inch off the floor. Left leg front step. See if you can step maybe a little bit wider this time, just to change the angle of your opening. Open up, then close. Left hand down, return to loaded position, right leg front step. Open up, close the gap. Return to your loaded position. Push back to your deep ape. Last repetition here, guys. You're doing really well. Back of the palm facing each other. Ape reach position. Head is in between the shoulders. Open. Heels are lifted off the ground. Palms up towards the ceiling, tall spine. Return to your reaching position. Slide your hands forward to the floor. Loaded beast position here. Left leg front step. Taking the left foot forward as far as you can. Open up. Last one here with the left arm up. Closing the gap all the way down. Left hand down. Left foot back. Right leg front step. Take your right leg forward. Open up with the right arm towards the ceiling as much as you can. Close the gap here. Right hand down. Right foot back. And rest. Nice. So we're getting definitely some juice going around the body, nice blood flow, oxygen is flowing all the way through the tissues. You can probably feel a little bit of a burn through the quads as you do more repetitions. That's because we're going that flexion and extension of the legs through our movement here. So you can go at your own pace. It doesn't have to be fast. If you make it faster, you're definitely going to get more pump. If you do it slower, you're going to get a bit more of a stretch exercise here. So our next combination here is actually going to be working on opening up the entire front. I love that for everybody who works behind a desk, always at very close position or driving a little bit too much. We usually tend to be quite close through the front of the body, the thighs, the hip flexors, the abdominals, and the chest. In this exercise here, we call the crab and the crab reach. We're going to actually open up the entire front by contracting the back of the body. So you're getting double effect here, a stretch of the front and a strengthening of the back. So our start position here is a crab position. I will show you the movement first and then explain how we're going to do that after. So this is my crab position here. My crab reach, I'm going to take one arm off the floor, drive the hips up, reach over, down here. My left arm crab reach, bring the hand in front of the chest, hips up, frame the head, down here and there. If you have a bit of soreness through your wrist, you might want to put your hands up to 90 degrees to the side, but otherwise the fingertips are going to be pointing away from the toes. We definitely don't want to have the fingertips and the toes pointing forward in the same direction. So, to start in your crab position here, the feet are going to be a little bit wider than hip width apart. It's going to give you a nice little strong stable base. And the hands are going to be roughly around shoulder width apart, with again, the fingertips pointing behind you or up to 90 degrees to the side, depending on how you feel with your wrists. With the bum here, we want to try to be roughly in the middle. So if you look at my position now, I resemble a capital M. What I want to do is imagining the sun is rising above the horizon line. So I'm going to looking up just above the rising sun. My head's going to be slightly tilted back. So I've got a nice straight line between my rib cage and my neck. To take my bum off the floor, what I want to do is squeeze my shoulder blades together. So my shoulders are going back towards my spine, and I'm going to be pushing the ground under my hands, so my neck is going to lengthen, and I'm going to create more space just between the ear and the shoulder. So this is my crab position. To go into a reaching position here, I'm going to take one hand off the floor, and that's going to be a little bit in balance here, so you can shift your weight if needed onto the other arm. So my right arm, crab reach, I'm going to be my right hand in front of the face here. And what I want to do is try to get as much extension through my hip as I can. So in that position here, I'm trying to squeeze my butt cheek all the way up and trying to bring my belly button as close to the ceiling as I can. To continue the movement, I'm going to stack both shoulders on top of each other. And I'm going to imagine my hand is a rainbow, and I'm going to come all the way around and frame my head with my elbow. So I'm not keeping the arm straight. I'm actually driving my fingertips down towards the floor and framing my head so my bicep is just behind my ear. In that position, you should feel a great contraction through the left shoulder here and the glutes, and a big stretch now through the right side here of the glutes and the shoulder. To return to the crab reach here, we're going to bring the head back down in front of the face, drive the hips down and plant the head. If you need to rest with your hips down now, that's absolutely fine as well. Our left arm crab reach is going to go bum up, shoulders back, looking just above the horizon. Left hand is going to come in front of the face. Drive the hips up as much as you can and reach out here. Frame the head with the arm, biceps just behind the ears, fingertips pointing towards the ground, and we're looking down at your base hand. Return to crab, down here and there. So let's go with a couple of crab reaches on each side here. If you find it too hard to do this particular position, I'm just going to show you the regression here. What you can do is simply going onto your knees here and either plant your hands on your foot or on the ground. Start into your reaching position, extend your hips, and then reach behind you. So in that way here, you have less power, less strength requirement through the arm and the wrists if that's a little bit too hard. So this is a regression of a crab reach here, where we're going to go and extend the hips being on the knees and reaching back. You're still getting a great opening of the front of the body while you're strengthening the back. Okay, so if you can try that as your regression of the crab reach, that's absolutely fine right now. So pick the variation that you want, either on the knees or on the floor here. And we're going to go to do 2 crab reaches on each side, starting with the right arm. So looking at the rising sun just above the horizon, fingertips pointing away from the toes or at 90 degrees to the side. Bringing your shoulder blades to the back here, lifting your bum up, bringing the gap away from the ears to the shoulders. Right arm crab reach, taking my right hand in front of the face here, driving my hips up towards the ceiling, belly button rising up, stacking both shoulders on top of each other, fingertips pointing down towards the floor, looking down at the base hand. Return to crab, bring the hand in front of the face, drive down, right hand down to the floor. Left arm crab reach, bring the left hand in front of the face, drive the hips up, squeeze through the butt cheeks here, plant your feet down towards the floor. Stack both shoulders on top of each other, frame the head, bicep just behind the ear, fingertips pointing down towards the floor. Return to crab. Left hand in front of the face, drive the hips down, left hand down to the floor. One more time on each side here. Right arm crab reach, bring the right hand in front of the face. Squeeze the butt cheeks, hip hubs towards the ceiling, belly button all the way up. Stack both shoulders on top of each other. Press the ground away with the hand and the feet. Frame the head. Return to crab. Right hand in front of the face. Hips down, right hand down towards the floor. Left arm crab reach, left hand on the side in front of the face. Last repetition here. Drive the hips all the way up. Frame the head. Bicep behind the ear. Fingertips towards the floor. Looking down at your base hand. Return to crab. Left hand in front of the face. Hips down. Left hand down and rest. You can obviously do as many repetitions as you want with this one here. But remember, the goal is to stretch and open up the entire front side of the body by strengthening and squeezing the back of the body. On this movement here, it's going to be a nice little mobility routine, again, to open up the hips and creating some nice rotation through the rib cage here. So I'm going to start into what we call a shin box position. So you're going to be sitting on the floor, and with your knees, they're going to be down on the floor here. And here I'm going to have the left foot in contact with the left thigh. So the sole of my left foot is in contact with my right knee. I'm creating a little triangular box here because I've closed the gap here with my left shin. Some of you may be able to sit all the way upright. Others, because of some mobility issues here through the hips, you can lean to the side and having your hand here. Both actually obviously really good. The goal here is we want to come up into a kneeling position. If you have enough strength, you can squeeze the butt cheeks to come up into the kneeling position, or you can push off with your hands. Both are really good. So I'm going to come up into a kneeling position here. And in that position now, what you can see is that I'm really getting the hips open up. I'm getting some external rotation from both hips here, which create a lot of opening inside the hip joints. This is beautiful to open up the hips, especially if you sit down a lot. I'm going to tuck my tailbone under and squeeze my butt cheeks. So I'm going to push my femurs all the way forward there. Gonna feel a nice stretch here, maybe not so nice, through the front of the hips here. The next movement here, I'm going to swivel the right leg around to come into a lunge position. So here we go. Here, placing my right foot in front of my left knee. I'm into a kneeling lunge position. Gonna bring both hands in front of my chest in a prayer stance. And I'm going to take my left elbow and bring on the outside of the right knee. You may not be able to rotate as far, but just keep in mind this is the goal here, is we want to take the left elbow outside of the right knee by rotating the rib cage. So I'm leaning forward, keeping my spine nice and long. And some of you might feel a nice little stretch here through the outside of the glutes. Others might be more rotation stretch through the rib cage. Gonna take 2 deep breaths into the tummy here. And each time you exhale, allow for more rotation through your rib cage. Coming back to the center, drop the hands. Right leg is going to swivel back around. We're going to aim to get the right knee in contact with the sole of my left foot and sitting back onto the floor. Can use your hands or just sit back like I just did here. To go on to the other side, take your leg around and assume the opposite position here. Sole of my right foot is in contact with my left knee. Again, you may not be able to be sitting in this position here, so you might be leaning on the side. That's just as fine. We're going to come up into a kneeling position by squeezing the butt cheeks or pushing the ground away with the hands. Tuck your tailbone under, squeeze the butt cheeks, open up through the hips. Keep the spine nice and tall. Swivel the left leg around into a kneeling lunge position. Keep the spine tall. Bring the hands into a prayer stance. Now we're going to hand with the right elbow to come outside of the left knee. Take 2 deep breaths in and out into the tummy. And really focus on letting that ribcage twist as much as you can. Back to the center. Drop the hands. The left leg is going to swivel back around. We're going to bring the left knee in contact with the right sole of the foot and sitting or flopping back onto the floor. Take your legs around. Going to do this one more time. Shin box position here, left sole in contact with the right knee. Stand up into your kneeling position, squeeze your butt cheeks, tuck your tailbone under. Right leg is going to swivel forward into a lunge position. Hands into a prayer stance in front of the chest. Left elbow is going to reach out to the right and try to get in contact with the outside of the right knee. 2 deep breaths into the tummy. Back to the center, drop the hands. Right leg is going to swivel back, right knee in contact with the sole of the left foot, sitting back onto the floor. Switch legs. Get into your other shin box stance. Squeeze your butt cheeks or push up from the ground. Come back into a kneeling position here. Tuck the tailbone under, squeeze the butt cheeks, open up both hips towards the front. Swivel the left leg around to the front into a kneeling position. Tall spine, hands in front of the chest in a prayer position, right elbow coming in contact with the outside of the left knee. 2 deep breaths into the tummy. Excellent. Back to the center, left leg is going to swivel back, left knee in contact with the right foot. Okay, so let's put those last 2 movements together, the crab reach and the kneeling position. You're gonna see that it's very easy to combine them together. Again, those 2 movements are designed to strengthen the back of the body, the posterior chains, in order to relax and stretch out the entire front. So they're very complementary with each other. So for the crab reach, you'll assume either the kneeling position or the sitting position on the floor with your hands and feet. So I'm gonna start with my crab position, and you'll see that when we get back down, all we'll have to do is bring the bum down and bring the knees to the side, and you're automatically gonna end up into your shin box position. So let's start with a crab reach here. We'll start with the left arm crab reach. So I'm assuming my crab position, bum is off the floor, shoulder blades pulled together towards the spine, long neck looking at the rising sun just above the horizon. Left arm crab reach, taking my left hand in front of the face. Squeeze the butt cheeks, belly button rising up towards the ceiling. Stack both shoulders on top of each other. Frame the head with a bicep, fingertips down towards the floor, looking down at your right hand. Return to crab, left hand in front of the face. Bring the bum down, left hand down. Sit on the floor on your hips. Swivel both legs towards the left. Now you'll see the left sole in contact with the right knee. From here, we're going to come up into a kneeling position. Squeeze your hips, tuck your tailbone under. Swivel your right leg around to come into a lunge position. Hands in front of the face. Left elbow reaching out towards the right leg, just outside, taking 2 deep breaths into the tummy. Back to the center. Right leg is going to swivel back, right knee in contact with the left insole. Place your left hand and your right hand on the floor. Come back into your crab position. Push the ground away with your shoulders and hands. Lift the bum off the floor. Right arm is going to come in front of the face here. Going to go right arm crab reach. Switch, bring the glutes up, belly button towards the ceiling. Frame the head, stack both of the shoulders on top of each other. Fingertips towards the floor, looking down at your left hand. Return to crab. The right hand in front of the face, drop the hips down. We're going to sit back on the floor. Both knees are going to swivel down towards the right. I'm going to face away from you guys on this one here. Push the ground away or lift your feet up. Bum squeeze, tailbone tucked under. We're going to swivel the left leg this time into a lunge position. Bring both hands towards the spine. Right elbow is going to come outside of the left knee. 2 deep breaths in the tummy. back to the center here. Drop the hands, left leg swiveling back towards the center. Left knee in contact with the sole of the right foot. Sitting down, back to your crab position. And obviously you can repeat this one as many times as you want. So thank you for joining me, guys. I hope you've learned a couple of movements that you can absolutely do anywhere, at the gym, at your warm-up or cool down. If you're on holidays, if you're sitting a little bit too much, all you need is a little bit of space and your body to move purposely. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, G, for a beautiful movement session. Just a really different way to move our bodies. I hope you all enjoyed that today. What a great day this has been around genius and purpose, really expanding our minds, understanding more about our identity, who we are from our biology, our psychology, our spiritual, our physical, our mental, our emotional layers, all this combined together for the unique, amazing individual that you are. Thank you for being here for this conversation around mental health, around improving the conversation, reducing the stigma, and really just being healthy and happy on our journey and supporting others on theirs too. So thank you so much. Tomorrow we're diving into relationships and communication, which is going to be a really interesting topic. So I hope you get to dive deep today or tonight or wherever you are in the world on our beautiful Identity, Genius and Purpose Day today. And we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you then. Good night for now.